Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Howard. I'm in Mexico City today, and my co-host Ed is on vacation. So this is our StriveXL show, and this is where we talk about how leaders can strive to develop themselves, their team members, striving to be the best leaders and even the best humans possible. And the XL in our show, StriveXL, the XL stands for Living Extra Large. We want people going the extra mile, putting in the extra effort, always being sure to developing themselves extra large, so to speak. And while most of the time we focus on business leaders and how business leaders can help their team members grow, since it's the start of the academic school year here in North America, our special guest today is Todd Taylor, an assistant professor at Notre Dame University. Previously in his career, he worked for Hewlett Packard Enterprises, which I think became DXC, I think, at one point at the end of it. But before that, he was at Boeing. And so now Todd teaches leadership at Notre Dame University. Welcome, Todd.
Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be here. Great to be on your show. And for those who may not know, Steve and I have done a lot of work together in the past at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, DXC Technology, training future leaders as well. So it's great to be with you again.
Yeah, and Todd was one of the few clients where I really got engaging conversation about what leadership is all about. So we used to meet in the morning about a half hour before the session started with our respective cups of Starbucks in our hands, and we would just talk about leadership and how leadership is changing. But let's talk about your students, Todd. I mean, tell us a little bit about who are you teaching and what kind of programs do you run at the University of Notre Dame?
Yeah, good, Steve. And I appreciate this opportunity, so bringing my 31 years of corporate experience to bear, if you will, with young people and really trying to help accelerate their chances for success. So I have the wonderful opportunity to teach at the University of Notre Dame. I'm specifically in the College of Engineering. And so they've hired myself and I co-teach with another professor also from corporate America, where we teach basically the essence of business operations to the engineering students. How do businesses operate? How do they make money? What is the dynamics of the supply chain, product development processes, a bit on project management, quality and Lean Six Sigma, to name a few. But we also spend a considerable amount of time talking about leadership and different styles of management and what that means in not only leading projects, but also leading people.
Okay, so what aspects of leadership are being emphasized then in your programs?
Well, we do, I would say, lots of different topics. We make this very conversational with our students. And we try to, again, leverage all of our experience, almost 6 decades of experience between the two of us in managing global teams and such. But at the University of Notre Dame, I would first say that the typical experience of our engineering students, they get a lot of project experience because they have a lot of experiential learning opportunities, not only in the classroom, but also in clubs like our rocketry club, our design, build, fly teams, our robotic football teams, where they're actually hands-on, working together, cross-discipline, and trying to figure something out. So that's real life experience on working as a team on a project, on the content of a project. We try to take it another step further, which is not only using teams within our assignments, whether it be case studies or things, but also to teach them, well, how do you be a good team member? What are the different roles that team members can play? How do you be a team leader? What does that very first interaction look like when you come together, when you meet your team for the very first time? How do you break the ice? How do you build relationships? How do you get through that kind of, forming, norming, storming, performing kind of phase, right, and get through that relatively quickly? So we actually spend a considerable time talking to our students about teamwork, not just the necessity, but actually how do you become a good team member, which is a little bit unique. And then they can apply that in all of their other project work that they're doing in many other courses.
Does this sound like a foreign language to your engineering students? I mean, people I've met over the years, engineers, people in IT, tend to be a little bit introverted. They like to focus on their projects. And now you're talking to them, they're going to lead people. They got to collaborate with people. Is this nerve-wracking for them?
Yeah, it is. It is definitely different than their technical training that they're getting, whether it's in thermodynamics or some Python software course or something that's much more technical. So this uses the other part of their brain, and that's something we pride ourselves here on at the University of Notre Dame, that we're just not producing great technical employees of the future. We're creating great people. And so, again, we pride ourselves not only on teaching the mind, but also the heart. And as you mentioned in your introduction, it's really about what are they going to do in the future? How do we create an engineer of the future that's really caring about humanity, but also designing great products and services as well?
And I can imagine their brain at the end of the day going from thermodynamics to talking about delegation and feedback on the same day.
Exactly. And so, when you think about our classes as comparison, again, to, let's say, thermodynamics, when they first come into our class, and our classes start this coming week, we tell them we want you to come into this class with a different mindset, a different perspective, and a different attitude. And our mantra is we want you to practice to become a professional. So while you're getting this phenomenal technical education, which can compete with any school in the world, we're going to complement that with a set of, leadership learnings and business learnings that we think 1 + 1 will equal 3 for these engineering students as they go forward. So we use this as an opportunity for them to practice becoming a professional in how they engage in class, how they're learning, how they engage with us outside of class, how do they show up on time, sitting up in their chair, and really paying attention and being like at their boss's future staff meeting.
Okay.
And we want them to think about that as the future and start practicing those habits now.
Now, let me guess. Notre Dame has a philosophy of play like a champion. You used to talk and preach about lead like a champion. So I suppose you're bringing that into your classroom as well, right?
It's right square in there as much as I can get it. And you're right. I've been using this saying for, it's probably been well over 20 years now with teams all over the world. And the reason I like it, yes, it's a great play on words with the play like a champion at Notre Dame. By the way, I have my mouse pad here is also a play like a champion.
There you go.
But it's really about being a visible role model of excellence. That's kind of the essence of leadership that we really focus on. The word champion, by the way, it resonates with students, all of our international students as well, because it's about being a winner. It's about being the absolute best that you can be at every aspect of yourself as a person, but also every aspect of yourself as a professional. Every email you send, every text message you send, every presentation you deliver, every customer you talk to, you do it with the absolute best of your ability. And then finally, this word of today, lead like a champion today, it really brings a sense of urgency. And so we want them to be that visible role model of excellence, not just being excellent in their cubicle, not just doing a great job heads down, but also being visible so others can follow you, so you can become the influencer and eventually the leader.
Well, you've got a great litany of role models at Notre Dame. I mean, but mostly in the sports world, at least what I'm familiar with, Eric Parsegian, Newt Rockney.
Sure.
Keep going. I think one of your leaders is called Father Ted or something, I believe.
Father Theodore Hesburgh.
Okay. So who else do you use though as role models for this concept?
By the way, we do use a lot of football and other famous athletic icons around here as well. But, we also bring in people like Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, and other phenomenal leadership icons. Again, not just for what they accomplished, but how they accomplished it, how they brought people together, how they influenced others. And this plays well with our push for creating, the holistic person coming out of here. Again, it's the head and the mind, or the head and the heart, rather, that we're trying to bring together for creating the best engineer, the best engineering leader we can produce.
That's excellent. Are your students concerned that when they get into the corporate world, they have to make a choice between a technical career and a managerial one? Is that something that concerns them?
I'm not sure I would say it concerns them. It absolutely is on top of their mind because they've just invested 4 years of their time and energy and money to become the best technical engineer they can. And so part of our role at the university is really advising students on honestly a daily basis. We're talking to them about their choices they can make in a career. Do they go down a technical path and leverage their technical education? Do they move into more of a consulting opportunity? And what are the differences and what are the advantages, disadvantages of that? I will find, we find that when you get 5 and 10 years out, most of our previous students that we do interface with have become more of, they may still be in the engineering department, but they're more of an engineering leadership role. They've brought together all of that, not just education here at Notre Dame, but also their experiences after Notre Dame, and become more of a leader in the role, still hanging on to some of that technical expertise, but really wanting to be, the leaders of the organizations in which they're in. So while many of them may start technical, we start to see them start to migrate into more of a leadership. And then others, as I mentioned, kind of jump right into that consulting arena and start to get more of a business aspect to their careers earlier than others.
Okay, interesting. And it sounds very exciting what you're doing.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study in return for your contribution. We'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
What about work-life balance? I mean, I guess you just said they've just spent 4 years or 5 years of their lives, a ton of money sometimes. Some of them leave with college debts or school debts, and then they get to get in the workplace. And do they think that they're just jumping from the frying pan into the fire?
Well, it's a really good question because especially for our seniors, and we teach predominantly juniors and seniors with a few sophomores, but for our seniors, we're trying to get them prepared for day one of the job as best as possible, not only to secure the job, but also to how are they going to show up. And as hard as they're working during college and up at night late and doing a lot of things, we also try to tell them about the realities of being, in the corporate world. And by the way, they all go to different types of, companies and such when they graduate. But a lot of them go to grad school. Some will go into the military service. Some will also go into community service, Peace Corps and such. And then we have the majority of them go into industry. But we try to be very candid with them that, if you want to be successful, doing a 9 to 5 and just kind of putting it away and walking away from it probably isn't going to pay off. We have these mobile devices we all carry around for a reason now, like it or not. And you have to be engaged. You can't literally just shut it off, walk away, and show up the next morning and expect to differentiate yourself. Having said that, my co-professor and I, we have a lot of stories about when we look back at our careers, could we have been more present at home in certain instances? Absolutely. Physically, we always tried to be there. Mentally, we're not always probably there as we're watching a soccer game or going to a school play or such. So I think there's some discipline, there's some techniques, there's some ways of managing that better, but it is absolutely on top of their mind. And we also bring in outside speakers too, typically Notre Dame alumni, but very successful engineers in their own right, and they are also very candid with them about the realities of working in corporate America.
Okay. And just so our audience knows, when we're talking engineering students, is this industrial engineer or is this mechanical, construction, all of the above? What is
Yeah,
this?
good question also. So we're very fortunate. We get to teach across all of our engineering majors within the university, all of the departments, whether it be electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, computer science, computer engineering. So all of those departments, those engineering students actually take our course. And so it's really exciting for us because we get to experience all of them, but they also get to experience one another, because this is also a very unique course in which multi-departments of engineering students come together. Because as they get older, and this is not unusual for most engineering schools, as you move up in your academic career, whether it be your junior or senior year, the classes get smaller and smaller, and you get a little bit more isolated from the rest of your classmates.
So you get a little bit more specialized in what you're studying there. Yeah. So in some ways, this is their first chance at cross functionality. It's like corporate America, working across different functions as well.
It's very much so. And so this multidisciplinary team aspect that we get to exercise in our classroom is a great opportunity. And as I mentioned previously, some of the outside clubs, the robotic football team or the rocketry team, they also are very multidisciplinary, all student-led, and a great way for them to experience not only the content of great technical design, but also leadership and being a good team member as well.
Okay. It's cool. So in our other program, which we call StriveXL, which we talk about well-being and wellness in the workplace, one of the things we often focus on is that success or thriving, if you're thriving well, that means you're both successful and you're happy. And I think, as you and I know from corporate America, we know too many executives who did really well at thriving, building results, but they weren't necessarily high in the happiness scale. Would you agree with that? And what are you cautioning your students about that?
I couldn't agree with it more. And in fact, Stephen, we're also very, very direct with our students as they are discerning their future. I have 3 offers. Which one do I take? And, do I always take the one that offers the highest salary? And the answer is always no. Right. If you are not happy with your choice, if you don't believe the culture of the company that you're choosing matches your set of values, the odds of you being happy, number one, are low. And if you're not happy, your performance will degrade, and that will just not be a good match for you or the company. So we talk at great lengths. And by the way, we also about happiness, and we also bring in real stories from my co-professor and I, where sometimes we worked for a company that it was obvious that their culture, their values were not my values. The happiness meter goes way down, performance goes down, and you need to make a change. And so I would also just comment in that regard, we spend a lot of time talking about emotional intelligence, about it's not just getting the results. It's not just what you accomplish. It's how you accomplish it. Are you caring for others? Are you self-aware of yourself and how you're being perceived? Are you aware of the feelings of others around you? Do you really show empathy? And so this is a really key part of our program that we try to instill in our students day in and day out.
How do they react to that? Empathy, even in the corporate world, right? People think empathy is soft, so to speak. I mean, there's no place for empathy in the workplace. How are you getting that across to the students?
Well, it's a good point in that typically those are referred to as kind of the soft skills. We refer to them as the essential skills.
Right.
And again, we have, between my co-professor and I, the experience in talking to them about what happens when you are just results oriented and the advantages or disadvantages of that. In fact, we like to use kind of a three-legged stool analogy, that one leg of the stool are your shareholders, one leg is your customers, and one are your employees. And if you're only focused on the shareholder side of delivering results and delivering more and more profits, that can work short term, but eventually that stool is going to tip over if you don't keep a relentless focus on your customers and on your employees. And so constantly working that balance so that you can deliver, yes, the results, but you deliver them in a right way. You're caring for your employees, you're caring for your customers, you have empathy for both of those constituents, and you are, working still to deliver what the shareholders expect.
Yeah. Okay. So what else are they concerned about? I mean, I read a lot, and I know they're not in the workplace yet, but we're reading about the great resignation now, people going to change jobs coming out of the pandemic. So are they worried about career paths? Are they worried about loyalty to a corporation? What are the key things that they raise with you?
Yeah, I think, well, the pandemic has definitely put a whole bunch of new thoughts into their mind in terms of, even some of the basics of location and working remotely or not. A lot of them really want to experience the world. And by the way, we have one of the highest, we're very proud of this, one of the best results of any other peer university, that about 65% of all of our engineering students will study abroad at some point, either in a semester program or through a summer program. And that gives them just a taste of the rest of the world. And I'm telling you, the desire for them to either travel or work internationally, or at a minimum work in global teams, is tremendous. And so we have a lot of conversation with our students about what does it feel like to live in America but be a part of a global team, whether the company you work for is an American company or a European company or an Asian company. It doesn't really matter, but how do you interact with your fellow employees halfway around the world? And so we talk to them, about some of the basics of working in a global team around time zones and culture and language, but also the benefits of culture and language, and getting work done around, following the sun, and really taking advantage of that. So working in global teams is clearly top of mind. They're concerned also about, probably not even their fathers, but their grandfathers or grandmothers would have potentially gone to work for someone and stayed with them for 30, 35 years.
Right.
Bouncing their careers around and making those choices. That's a little bit concerning for them, even at this young age. Am I only going to take this job for 2 years and then move on? And we kind of go back to that happiness conversation, right? You can make a lot of money, but if you're not happy and your mental health is not in a good place, you can have all the money in the world and it's not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to make the right choices. On the same token, you may actually make a great choice and work for a company for 30 years. So don't knock it either. So.
No, if you get the right one and get the right, and it depends on how companies change, I would suggest, particularly over the next 5 to 10 years. How many, I read a Wall Street executive recently who made a comment that if you can go to dinner in New York City, you can come to work in New York City. And, that's, to me, was a bit of a dinosaur attitude, not quite understanding there's a bit difference having a 2-hour meal and working 8 hours or 10 hours in a cubicle. So we'll see how leadership changes in the coming world. I tell you what, Todd, I'm excited to hear that 65% have some kind of international experience, because I lived overseas. I know you've lived outside the United States. We both have worked in global teams throughout most of our careers. And I would argue that international experience is one thing that makes people more empathetic. It builds resiliency, it builds empathy, and so I'm really excited about that. Are they coming back with those observations themselves?
They are, and so to give you a sense, for the programs that we have running right now for our engineering students, they're going to cities including London, Berlin, Rome, Dublin, Alcoy, Spain, also various places in Japan, China, and Auckland, New Zealand. And so when they go there, they tend not to just stay in that city either. They also get a chance to travel within the region or within, the continent that they're in, for Europe for specifically. And so they get to see places that don't look like home. You know, they don't look like Kansas. And the way people interact with one another, the food they eat, the way they get to work, the places they live, they get to experience something just, such an enriching experience, much different than reading it out of a textbook or watching a YouTube video. And it is absolutely life-changing for them.
It is.
In terms of what they want to do and how they want to try to change the world.
Yeah. And, you and I knew each other. We did a lot of work together just north of Dallas, probably 90% of what we did. But then I'm recalling right now, you and I made a trip to Tokyo together and then to Sydney together. And while we were authentic, we also changed. I mean, you and I are very different people in Japan than we are in north of Texas or north of Dallas, I'd say, right?
Yeah, or you have to adapt, right?
And
that was part of us getting educated on the Japanese culture and the expectations, and not just language barrier and food and some of the basics, but really how they think and their thought process. And so the way we would train that set of future leaders in Japan or in Sydney is different than you would do it in Dallas.
Yeah.
And so a great opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. Great opportunity.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that. Well, this has been a great conversation, Todd. I wish you great success with your academic year that's starting next week. I think I'm excited as a as a leadership facilitator and coach. I'm excited about the things that you're doing. It's great to hear that academia is doing these things because it's not something I've experienced before. So it's well done to you and your colleague.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And it's always great to be a part of your show specifically, but also your career and the journey you've been on. And it's you're giving back a lot of great tips and tricks and techniques to not just myself, but to hundreds and thousands of other leaders. So we want to thank you as well.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. We both done that. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for enjoying. If you like this show, hit the like button below, subscribe to our channel. This is our StriveXL show. And again, this is just an engaging conversation about how do we create better leaders, how do leaders create better team members, and how do we all create better human beings. And I have a great example of that with my guest today, and Todd Taylor. So good luck to you, and good luck to the Fighting Irish with this season.
Thank you. Go Irish.
Hey, go Irish. Where's your green? All right. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.